Okay, okay. I kind of like this. One Piece chapter 1140. It wasn't a long fight, but it was an interesting one. And we get more fallout from the Reverie, not the Vegapunk message, but the Reverie. I see what Oda's doing here. And he's keeping Luffy and Shamrock separated. Interesting. What's Oda cooking here? So let's back up because, man, there's a lot for this fight, man. And, like, Shanks is plotting something. Shanks is not in a bad way, but he's plotting something. So here's the thing, right? You got old boy sitting there telling him, y'all's like, yo, you don't think you can do it? What's wrong? You don't think you can do it, fam? Luffy starts charging at him. Nami tries to talk some sense into him. But Zoro immediately clocks like, oh, this is not going to be easy. Because he remembers exactly what got said. He was like, wait a second. This kid said this dad used to be a pirate who could fight off the Elbaf warriors. And Luffy wasn't paying attention to that. So Luffy tries to snatch the key. He's using the gum fruit. He's trying to, or the Nika fruit. He's trying to stretch. And he gets away. Luffy tries to get a few more swipes in. It doesn't work. And you just see like it's the classic anime trope of old man, super strong, super skilled, super fast. And when Luffy tries to reason with him, he's like, I just want to get to Loki so I can get back to the feast. Just give me the key. And he just gets taunted. And Gaban is like, are you sure? You can just take it from me if it's going to be that simple. And Gaban immediately, because Luffy's guard's been lowered to a degree, he jumps up and Luffy's like, oh crap, he's using Haki. And he just whams. Luffy immediately has to react. And Nami's like, Luffy, what are you doing? Are you kidding me? And when he gets out of the way, Gaban's looking. He's like, that's a nice straw hat you got there. It looked better on you than a helmet. And this is him taunting. But what's interesting is that because he already knows what Shanks is to Luffy, he's just pressing the buttons. And sure enough, Luffy takes the bait. And he's like, I'm holding this for Shanks. This is a treasure. And I like how Gaban is like, wait a second, you're only holding it for him? Oh my God, this dude Shanks is a cheapskate. And it just pisses Luffy off. And he's like, you have no idea about anything to do with Shanks. And it's like the irony because he was part of the crew. And this is the dramatic irony because we know it, but Luffy doesn't. Which kind of makes me wonder, again, I feel like the people on Shanks' crew, they're separated for a reason, and they're also not necessarily, for lack of better words, they're not talking about each other too much. Because how does Luffy not know about Gaban? Like, and maybe Luffy did get told and just don't remember. Luffy is very simple-minded, but he's getting wrecked at this point. And Gaban is just having fun with him. Like when he shoves the key into his mouth, he's like, you know, you sure like to talk. And he just sends Luffy flying. He pulls out those two axes. And Luffy's got this silly look on his face. Zoro immediately is like, look out, Luffy. Zoro brings out the swords. He blocks the attack, and then we see all of the wide-scale damage that it does. And sure enough, as Zoro blocks it, that's when Gaban's like, oh, wow. Luffy's got a nice crew. He's praising him. And it's like, Luffy, if it's destiny, if it's intentional, it's one of those things like Oda has assembled a hell of a crew for Luffy. I know somebody's like, of course, he's the main character. But we've seen in other series where even the main character, the helpers have serious flaws. The Straw Hats are a perfect balance. Like I really like what they do, because I've said it 1,000 times before. All of them could lead their own crew, but they all fall in line with Luffy and they all have strengths where they all contribute. And so what I like here is when Luffy and Zoro go into it and Luffy's in Gear 5 and the battle just starts raging in. And this guy's got the smile on his face. And he's like, indeed, it's in all white. This is kind of proving my assumption right. Like he was gaining intel on Luffy to see, did what I hear match up? And it just makes the conversation that he had with Shanks that we didn't get the full convo on. It makes me wonder even more now. And so as they start charging in, this man gets the smile and then he raises the hands and he says, I yield. And you see Zoro and Luffy, they've been all worked up. Like it's like they got the ultimate cock tease at this point. They're completely blue balled. They think that they're getting ready to go into a big battle, and now the battle itself is not taking place. And he tells them like, look, the key's already in your possession. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. It's in your possession. But after all this is done, if Elbaf is still intact, you come find me, you come see me again. And my thing is how much of what's going on is something that Shanks potentially knew might happen? Because he's talking like he expects something. So I'm wondering if Shanks might not have just given a heads up last time he was here. Like, yeah, my brother's probably going to be coming here. Don't tell Luffy about my brother, but you need to be on guard and watch for the Holy Knights. You need to be on guard and watch for the Celestial Dragons. Something is happening. Like, I really want to know more about that conversation. And the way that it was so lighthearted, the way that it ended, and the way that Gaban is just giving me mad Sanji vibes, not because of the lover boy aspect, but just from the trolling aspect and how observant he is and how everything is so calculated and methodical. There's something else here. There's something else here. And so when Luffy and Zoro kind of walk in and they're saying, I don't ever want to see you again. Thank you for the key, you idiot. I hope we never meet again. They're going to meet again. Especially if Gaban's child is put in harm's way, which I think that's what we're building towards. But what I like here is that when we get the mini flashback, Shanks is talking to Gaban, and Gaban's like, why would I ever trust him? What makes you think that I would trust him? And Shanks is like, do with him as you want. It's almost as if Shanks knew. You're going to take a liking to him. Just watch out for the little fucker for me. And speaking of little fuckers, that's where we see the children, and they're like, oh, there's a bird. There's a bird. And that's because you got Gunko. She's high in the sky. They've flown over. They've located the school. And that's where Shamrock's like, okay, time to make the call. And we see that pentagram once again get shown. So now, like when all things go crazy, they have these pentagrams. So I'm willing to bet somebody like Nico Robin recognizes exactly what that is. And we're probably going to get some more lore. And what ends up happening is that they end up summoning 2 more Holy Knights. And they're from different families. And what I like here is that, like, they're completely caught off guard. And, like, Somers is like, dude, like, I didn't even change yet. And, like, he's got, like, the complete old man energy where he's got the hairy legs and hair underneath the legs. Like, my man has not seen a razor in forever. And what I like is that, like, when they start looking around, they get the goofy expressions and everything. And, like, wait a second, we're an elbow. Like, it's that classic Oda humor. But what I like about it is that as the guy gets dressed, that's where we get the little bit of feedback where Shamrock is told, we need you to go back to the Holy Land. Things have gotten a bit dire. And it's because of what happened at the Reverie. Which, I mean, Sabo is beginning to pay more and more dividends. And what I like there is that Shamrock is still assessing the situation. And as he brings everybody up to speed, Somers is like, okay, so we can kidnap the kids. That's no problem. But they're too big to just put in a sack. So we're going to have to physically transport them. And because they don't have the marker, we're going to have to go off a ship. And that's where you get the ominous line where Fitzgerald Shamrock is like, look, man, you can just make it into a game. So it looks like we're about to get into some action. This arc is kind of progressing a little faster than I thought it was. Like, the start of the arc was a little slow, but I liked it. But now it looks like things are really speeding up. But, like, I have so many fucking questions right now. I have so many questions. And again, it just never fails to amaze me how One Piece, I've been reading this for 10 years now. I've taken a very long time to get caught up. I've been going at my own pace. Probably longer than somebody else would. But, again, I chalk that up to, I have the IRL stuff, but I also run multiple YouTube channels. So I do take my time. And we did lose some time because I kind of had to start over because I lost the channel. Because when I lost the first channel, I was in Fishman Island. So I probably would have got to Wano, and that was in 2018. So I probably would have got to Wano when Wano was starting at the rate I was going, because I was doing 3 One Piece reviews a day for 5 days a week. So it's one of those things, like, I'm kind of mad I'm not caught up, but we're close to it. But one thing that I do find joy in is that even like when I'm going through and I'm kind of basically reading a volume at a time per se, it's just one of those things, like One Piece never fails to hold my attention. And even when it's slower, it's just built up so much goodwill with me that I know Oda's going to pull some shit out his ass that I'm going to enjoy. Like, I am very picky with series I read. You really have to hold my attention. Especially if it's for me to cover it on YouTube, I have to really love it. Because if I don't love it and it feels like work, I'm going to get bored with it. And I've never gotten bored with One Piece. And I guess like that's going to be my chapter question for you guys. This will be a personal one. People like for Neverworld have told me in private, like when you get caught up, and this has been in the back of my mind, when you get caught up, One Piece will never hit the same as it does when you're able to go through and read chapter by chapter. And I appreciate what they're saying, but at the same time, like, I do kind of feel like I love it enough where, I don't know, like I might get that same feeling I got with Naruto, where I would look forward to reading the leaked chapters and doing discussions and etc. Like, I'm not going to do theory crafting over here on the channel. I refuse to do that for One Piece. But it's just one of those things, like, part of me is worried. Is what I got told true? Does the experience change once you get caught up? Because this has been a journey for me, man. Like, I love it. But, you know, I also know if I want to accomplish the goals I got to do for One Piece, like, I have to get caught up. So that's, you know, I'm curious to know what you guys think on that. But, so always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching on to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.